Good evening. Happy Friday. This is Talking Sports with Evan. And what a week it's been in the world of sports. Brewers, Bucks, Packers in the headlines this week for various reasons. Unfortunately, for one of the teams, not so good of a reason. And the Packers, I guess, for both good and not so good reasons as well. They've been in the news. So today's Talking Sports with Evan. We had the Super Bowl happen on Sunday. Going to give some quick thoughts on the Super Bowl. Coaching hires are made around the league. Every NFL team has their new head coach. And once again, Eric Bieniemy, not one of the guys getting the head coaching job for anybody in the NFL, which is quite disappointing, as Bieniemy is a guy who I feel is well deserving of the head coaching opportunity. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Eric Bieniemy, talk to Milwaukee Brewers, who were in the news for not so good reasons this week, involving Corbin Burns, and give my thoughts and opinions on that, and some more as we recap some stuff, some of the top stories and whatnot from the wide world of sports for the week, and some great Packer news as well. So I'm also going to bring you my first installment of talking about the NFL draft. The NFL draft positions have been set. The first round has been set in draft order. And I am going to start with the first 5 teams in the draft, go over my thoughts on who they should look at and what their biggest needs are, and give my opinion. And I have a couple on the Bears. I'm going to lay out a couple options for the Bears that I think could be potential as well. But I'm going to start with the Super Bowl. Super Bowl ends with the Chiefs defeating the Eagles by 3. Um, Great game overall. The field was awful, unfortunately. The NFL should be embarrassed about that. The field itself in the Super Bowl, not very good. And guys were slipping and sliding, and I'm pretty positive that it had a big reason why the Philadelphia Eagles, who had over 70 sacks on the year, got 0 in the Super Bowl. And tip your hats to the Chiefs offensive line. They played incredibly good football on Sunday, but the field helped big time. Think back to Green Bay versus, I think it was Seattle in the playoffs, one of their playoff games. And the Seahawks at the time had a very good pass rush, very good defensive end. It was snowy in Green Bay, and the Packers were able to dominate the line of scrimmage. And the big reason why is the Seahawks couldn't get a good jump off the ball to put pressure on Brett Favre and company. And the Packers were able to dominate the line of scrimmage. And the Packers O-line back then was really good, but it was helped by the fact that the field was slick, and the Seahawks struggled to get a pass rush going. And the same thing happened with this game. The Eagles struggled to get a pass rush on Pat Mahomes, partially because of how slick that field was. They couldn't get good footing, couldn't get off the ball quick enough. And then, as I mentioned, the Chiefs offensive line did a great job taking control of the game, giving Mahomes time to find guys down the field and do what they had to do to come back down 10 at halftime to get the victory. And like I said, overall, it was a great game. I thought it was a game of chess between two very good coaching staffs. And at the end of the day, Andy Reid, who has been a head coach in the NFL since 1999 when he got the job for the Eagles, he outcoached the coaching staff of the Eagles, and his staff did. The Eagles offensively couldn't make some big plays when they had to at certain moments of the game. Justin Hurts, though, played a great game. Justin Hurts showed that he is a very solid, very good quarterback. And he had a touchdown throw to A.J. Brown in the first half, I want to say, of that game. Well, he just dropped it in a bucket. Great throw to Brown. Great catch by Brown. Jalen Hurts definitely showed that he belongs as quarterback in the NFL. And I know we had the controversial play to end the game where you had the holding call, which I know the defensive back said, hey, I held him. I was hoping they were going to let me get away with it. And the problem is, in that situation, did he hold him? Technically, yes. It by definition of the rule book, it was a hold. But one of my issues I have, though, one of my problems with it that I do have is the fact that you don't call that the entire game and you wait till right there to throw it. And to me, it's a judgment call from that official. The official that threw the flag is a judgment call to that official, and that official has to make the decision, did the grab impede the route from the receiver? And you can ask 50 people and you're going to have 50 different answers. My opinion, it did not impede the route of the receiver. It did not affect his ability to run his route. And me personally, I would have kept the flag in my pocket. And, who knows what would have happened to finish the game. But that's a tough call to make as an official, too. As like I said, it's at that point, if you're going to throw a flag in that situation on that particular moment, again, as I said, it's a judgment call. And by that official's judgment, the grab by the corner impeded the route of the receiver, and he had to throw a flag on it. And it's just disappointing that the Eagles lost on basically a defensive holding play. And yes, I know I'm not blaming the officials. I'm not going to do that. I just didn't like that call. The Eagles, yes, they have to put points on the board, take advantage. Don't let the game come down to that call. And to begin with, you had a 10-point lead at halftime. But as I said, I didn't agree with the call. I would have kept the flag in my pocket, but unfortunately they felt differently. That crew was the officials on the field, and they threw the flag. And the Chiefs were able to pretty much run out the clock, and we had a very bad Hail Mary attempt by Jalen Hurts, which looked like, once again, he slipped a little bit trying to throw that football. So overall, good game, bad field, and a lot of controversy. I think the halftime show was fine. If it's not your cup of tea, not your type of music, that's fine. But at the end of the day, guess what? You don't have to watch it. You can change the channel. You can put it on mute. You can watch the Puppy Bowl or whatever else you want to do at halftime. You can refresh your drinks, refresh your snacks. But I just don't feel the need to just completely bash it and put Rihanna down, who, like I said, I think she put on a pretty good show. So that closes the door on the Super Bowl. And gonna flip to Packers. Aaron Jones agrees to return to Green Bay for the 2022 season by restructuring his contract. I've talked about this in a prior show that's what I felt he would do, and that's what I would do if I was Green Bay. I would bring Aaron Jones and David Bakhtiari back personally. I think they give you a better chance to win. And the thing is so there's two big reasons for Aaron Jones bringing him back. One, if Aaron Rodgers is there, he's a weapon in the offense that Aaron Rodgers can throw to out of the backfield and hopefully give the ball to on those run pass options that the Packers like to do at times. The can plays where they send two plays in. Hopefully Rodgers can give Jones the ball. If Rodgers comes back, he gives the Packers the best chance to compete for a Super Bowl. If Aaron Rodgers is not back at quarterback, he helps Jordan Love and Jordan Love's continued development as the starting quarterback for Green Bay. I don't understand if you're not bringing Aaron Rodgers back, why bring Bakhtiari or Aaron Jones back too? You want to surround Jordan Love with talent. You're not going to help Jordan Love and the 2023 Green Bay Packers by getting rid of the talent around Jordan Love. He needs talent around him. If you get rid of him, you get rid of Bakhtiari, you're weakening and you're worsening the talent around your young quarterback, who you're trying to make a determination on if he should be your long-term answer at quarterback, and you're not going to get a good answer by getting rid of weapons. And that would be stupid and dumb. Aaron Jones, if Jordan Love is the starting quarterback in 2023, Aaron Jones would be a featured part of the offense to take pressure off of Jordan Love, to allow Jordan Love a chance to get comfortable in the pocket, moving around. Again, moving on from Aaron Jones is stupid and dumb if Jordan Love is your quarterback next year or if Aaron Rodgers is your quarterback next year. And I'm glad to see Aaron Jones back. He is a true Green Bay Packer. He represents the Packer brand, the Packer organization extremely well. He's third all time in career rushing yards in Packer history. And he doesn't get the credit that he deserves. He is one of the top running backs in the NFL, but he's not a sexy name like a Christian McCaffrey. So he doesn't get the respect that he should get. He puts up just as good of numbers as a Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey, I'm going to look him up really quick. In the 2022 NFL season, trying to try to find Christian McCaffrey's stats really quick. Christian McCaffrey had the NFL.com is not helping me very much, trying to figure out the total yards that Christian McCaffrey had. But in reality, Christian McCaffrey and Aaron Jones are very similar player, have very similar skill set. McCaffrey's injured a lot more than Aaron Jones, and I know Jones has missed time every year with some type of injury. But overall, McCaffrey and Jones are not that different of running backs. And Aaron Jones deserves more respect than he gets. He is a top back in the NFL. I know he struggles to do it back to back, and I think part of that is just the way the Packers offense runs. It runs through Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers wants to sling the ball down the field, doesn't want to check the ball down, doesn't want to give the ball to the running back in the red zone. And I think that's a big issue. But Aaron Jones is a premier back in this league, and he's paid like one, but he doesn't get the respect from the media and other people that he is one. So that's just my quick thoughts there on Aaron Jones. It's great that he's back. It's great that he's going to be back regardless of if Rodgers or Love is the quarterback. That cleared a lot of cap room. Packers are now, according to Over the Cap, just $4 million over the cap. And my money is that Bakhtiari will be the next guy, that they restructure to lessen that cap hit a little bit to give the Packers some more cap space to do things. And the ones that are complaining about what about 2024? You're hurting yourself cap-wise in 2024. You're just kicking the can down the road more. Why do you care so much? Like, why do you care so much that the Packers were supposed to be horrible in 2023 because they kicked all the cap down in the the Packers were supposed to be horrible in 2022 because they kicked all the cap into 2022 back in 2021. In 2021, they were supposed to be bad because they had no cap room because they kicked everything from 2020 into 2021. And the Packers will find a way to put a competitive team on the field. That's what they pay Russ Ball for. And the so-called salary cap experts all over Twitter and Facebook, we don't know truly how these contracts are written or worded because you have not actually read the contract, every clause, everything that's in that contract. You only know what's been reported out to the media regarding that contract. And I trust Russ Ball more than I trust your cap expertise on Twitter. We'll worry about 2024 when the 2023 season is over with. Until then, I don't really care about the cap situation in 2024 and 2025. The Packers will figure it out like they always do. And the cap should be going up and up and up moving forward as these new TV dollars and new TV revenues continue to come in and include now the new TV deal for NFL NFL, I can't think of what it's called now. DirecTV had it. Sunday Ticket. Now with I believe Google and YouTube are taking over Sunday Ticket, even more money coming into the NFL. So it's great that Aaron Jones back. It's going to be great when Bakhtiari stays. And fine, go ahead and restructure all these deals because that's what you can do next year for some of these guys. Restructure them again. But I don't think you help the Packers in 2023 by moving on from Aaron Jones because where Aaron Rodgers may not be back anyway. So what's the point? You're not going to be a Super Bowl team anyway. It's going to help Jordan Love. You're giving Jordan Love a security blanket. You're giving Jordan Love a somebody who can take pressure off of him and run and control the offense. So Jordan Love can just focus on getting his feet wet and learning how to be the full-time starter of the Packers. And he's definitely going to be a big help to Aaron Rodgers. And I hope that A.J. Dillon can get back to where he was his rookie year and his second year in the league. And for the second half of 2022, Dillon was really good. I hope we see more of that Dillon in 2023. And if the offensive line is settled, which it wasn't for several weeks into 2022, and I don't think it's a coincidence when the offensive line finally got settled down that Dillon ended up playing some very good football. Dillon is a very talented running back, but he needs help and more help from his offensive line. And he wasn't getting that help early in the year. And like I said, when the offensive line finally settled, they finally started to play better. A.J. Dillon started to get some big yards. And I think Dillon and Jones used maybe, if Jones stays healthy, you give Jones more more touches than he got this year, but I think he was banged up quite a bit towards the end of last year. That's why they kept splitting time. But now Aaron Rodgers, what's he going to do as a next step? And that leads me to Bob Mcginn. Bob Mcginn says on Go Long, Tyler Dunn's publication that Bob Mcginn works with now, is that the Packers are done with Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love will be the team starter in 2023. Then he goes on to say that if Aaron Rodgers is back in 2023 in Green Bay, he would not be the starting quarterback. And that's a big line of BS. Like, all due respect to Bob Mcginn, he's a Hall of Fame journalist. He's been doing this a lot longer than I have. And as I mentioned, he's a Hall of Fame journalist. But I don't trust this from Bob Mcginn at all. Bob Mcginn also said that Rodgers would not be the quarterback in Green Bay in 2022. I think he also said that Rodgers would not be the quarterback in Green Bay in 2020. Yes, Bob Mcginn might still have some sources inside 1265, but I don't buy a word of what Bob Mcginn said. I don't, there might be some people in the Packer front office frustrated with Aaron Rodgers. I don't blame them, but I don't think the Packers are, quote, disgusted and done with Aaron Rodgers, no matter what Aaron Rodgers says. And nobody with any kind of clout in the Packers front office is going to say that out loud to anybody outside of 1265. Because if Aaron Rodgers wants to play next year and it's not going to be in Green Bay, Packers have to trade him. And if word got out there that they just want to get rid of him, guess what it does? It hurts his trade value. So there's nobody in the Packers front office that has any kind of information or knowledge to what's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers that's going to be speaking with Bob Mcginn that the Packers are disgusted with Aaron Rodgers because they're not that stupid. Love him or hate him, the Packers are very good at keeping things close to the vest and giving out information only if they want it put out there. And I guarantee you, they do not want that the Packers are disgusted with Aaron Rodgers to get out there like that. So I don't buy it. And I also don't buy that they're going to start Jordan Love regardless if Aaron Rodgers is back or not. Aaron Rodgers is not going to be a backup quarterback anywhere. He's not going to go anywhere where he's not going to be guaranteed the starting quarterback. And anywhere he goes, except for Kansas City and Philadelphia, if anywhere Aaron Rodgers goes in the NFL, he's going to be the starting quarterback for that team. He's not going to be a second fiddle to anybody, and the Packers wouldn't do that anyways, because if Aaron Rodgers is on this team, he's going to be the starting quarterback. He's not going to be the backup. And can we just go a week without obsessing over everything he says or doesn't say or says half-ass? Because we obsess too much about what he has to say or doesn't say. You're feeding into, I think, what he wants. He wants your attention. He wants you hanging on every word that comes out of that mouth. So just relax a little bit. Rodgers will make the decision when he does, and when he does, it'll be either he's the quarterback for Green Bay or he's not the quarterback for Green Bay. And I'll worry about that when it happens. I'm not going to continue to obsess. Let Rodgers be in his darkness, which I think today might have been the last day, assuming he went Tuesday. I don't know specifically when he went, but he went sometime this week. So he should be emerging from the darkness soon. And my guess is Pat McAfee will be tweeting out, or either Pat McAfee or James Jones will be tweeting out what Aaron Rodgers' intentions for 2023 are. McAfee's the one that broke the news on the contract that Rodgers signed in Green Bay to bring him back in 2022. I believe James Jones is the one that broke his contract that he signed a couple years prior to that. So either James Jones or Pat McAfee will be the one to break the news on what Aaron Rodgers is going to do in 2023. And then honestly, if it doesn't come from either McAfee or Jones, don't buy a word of it. That's really all I can say right now, because one of those two are going to be the ones to break the news about Aaron Rodgers. Before I jump to NFL draft, last thing I want to address is the whole Corbin Burns situation. And I'm a diehard Brewer fan. I love the Milwaukee Brewers. Love the Brewers for a very long time. But I'm really wondering what they're doing. I'm really curious and wondering what the Brewers are doing at this point. I had no issue with trading Colton Wong because I think Jesse Winkler is a very good baseball player. I think he's better than Hunter Renfroe. He's cheaper than Hunter Renfroe, and I think he's better than Hunter Renfroe if you look at the numbers of Jesse Winker. When he's healthy, he's a very good baseball player. He didn't play well in Seattle. I get that. He also didn't want to be there, and that's a tough stadium to get to hit in too. That's a pitcher's park. But I like bringing Winkler, and I like bringing Contreras in. I'm fine they haven't spent a ton of money on free agents this offseason, especially when you have guys like Garrett Mitchell and Sal Frelick and Weimer, those guys coming up very, very soon. Terang is another one that you have waiting in the wings to be a second baseman on this team. Luis Urias, you're moving around between third and second base all the time. I think moving Colton Wong, moving Run Forward, not bad things. However, the arbitration process with Corbin Burns, I think they completely botched. They completely botched the entire situation. The Brewers were $740,000 difference between what Corbin Burns wanted and what the Brewers wanted to pay. Okay, I get it. It's baseball. It's arbitration process. Okay, fine. I don't think it's very smart to go to arbitration when you're that much difference between what you want and what your star player wants. I don't think it's smart to go to arbitration when the number's that little. Just either negotiate to meet somewhere in the middle, which they didn't do, or just give him what he wants, which they didn't do either. Instead, they took the process to arbitration, where they pretty much, and I know we only heard Corbin Burns' version of the whole situation, but they pretty much went to the table. Okay, so now we're going to do arbitration. They could have presented their case without insinuating that he's the reason why they didn't make the playoffs. From what Corbin Burns said, they pretty much made him the focal point in that presentation on why they didn't make the playoffs. That was stupid. Now you have hurt feelings. Yes, I know Corbin, there's a less than 0% chance that Corbin Burns was going to sign a long-term contract with us anyways. The Brewers cannot afford to pay a pitcher $30 million a year. I completely understand that. I get how the business of baseball works, but there's other factors to look at here. Other players are watching. Other players that you might you might want to sign to long-term extensions, maybe Woody. There are other players coming up in the farm system that are eventually going to need new contracts. There's potential for free agents that, guess what? They're watching. And they saw how you treated your best player. You disrespected your best player on your team over $740,000. That's stupid to me. And I don't understand the thought process of Matt Arnold and the Brewers front office for fighting over $740,000. And I keep throwing that out. Yes, to me, that's a lot of money. To most of you watching this, the majority of you watching this, I'm sure that's a lot of money. But for the Brewers, they definitely could have afforded the extra $740,000 to keep Corbin Burns happy in arbitration and to go from there. But instead, they screwed up. They screwed the pooch, and now they have a pissed off pitcher. And like I said, I know everybody knows there was less than 0% chance of Corbin Burns returning to Milwaukee at the completion of his contract, so he's likely going to get traded anyways. But like I said, other players are watching on how you handle this situation. And if you're going to treat your best player like that, I think that's going to make a lot of players go, is that really something I want to get involved with? That's where it's going to hurt the Brewers. It was a bad PR move. It makes Attanasio look cheap. It makes the Matt Arnold look like he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. And it just doesn't look good at all. And like I said, it was stupid and dumb to take your top player to arbitration over that small amount of money. And again, before you say that that's the business side of things, I understand that. I'm not stupid. I went to college for sports management. I got a bachelor's and master's in sports management. I know the business side of sports very well. Yes, I don't work in the business side of sports, but I know the business side of sports fairly well. But I think it was stupid how they handled and treated the best player, probably the best pitcher they've had in the organization whole history. But anywho, time to move on to some NFL draft talk. And I got my notebook here on my notes and whatnot. And we're going to start with the number one pick in the NFL draft, which belongs to the Chicago Bears. Get the first pick. And they have a lot of needs. Offensive line is a need, wide receivers a need, pass rush or edge guys a need, defensive tackles a need. And the Bears have a lot of options they can do right now. They can keep the number one pick and draft somebody. They can trade back a few spots with a team that wants to get ahead of the Houston Texans because they know the Texans are going to take a quarterback at number 2. Or here's what the Bears could do too, and I think it's something to seriously consider, is keep the number one pick, trade Justin Fields, and take a quarterback at number one. And I know, yes, you're going to call me dumb for even bringing that up, but think about it. If you're in a rebuild process right now. Justin Fields is going into year 3. Year 4, you have to make that. Going into year 4, you have to make that decision if you're going to exercise the 5th-year option or not. And then year 5 or before year 5, you got to pay him a crap ton of money. So what you could do by trading Justin Fields and taking a CJ Stroud or a Bryce Young is you can reset that rookie clock, because now you have 5 years guaranteed with your quarterback that you took if you want it. Rather than 3, you have 5. And I think maybe that's something to look at a little bit. Maybe that's something to consider for if you're the Bears. I'm not saying they should, but I'm saying they should seriously consider it. Jalen Hurts is on his rookie contract. The Bengals last year, their quarterback on their rookie contract. Pat Mahomes recently signed a huge contract, but when the Chiefs started this run to the Super Bowl under his rookie contract, there's a few exceptions, but a lot of the teams that make the Super Bowl are teams that make big jumps, or teams that typically are on quarterbacks with their rookie contracts, because they can put a lot of pieces around that quarterback, because they don't have to pay him a ton of money. But in reality, if I'm the Bears, I trade back, get more picks, and then you take Carter. You take Jalen Carter, defensive tackle out of Georgia, and you get a big, nasty defensive tackle, so you can start becoming a physical front once again. But some names to keep an eye on if you're a Bear fan: Will Anderson, edge defender from Alabama; Jalen Carter, who I just mentioned, defensive tackle from Georgia; Paris Johnson Jr., an offensive tackle from Ohio State; Pete Storonsky, offensive lineman from Northwestern. His grandpa played for the Green Bay Packers, from my understanding; and Tyree Williams, edge defender from Texas Tech. Those are some names that, if you're the Bears, that you can definitely consider taking, and some of them depending on how far back you trade. The next team, the Houston Texans, they have picked 2 and 12 of the NFL draft. They need a quarterback. They need wide receivers. They need a tight end. They need an edge. They need an offensive lineman. And they could use another corner. Yes, they just drafted a guy last year, but they could definitely use another corner. Guys to think about, guys to keep an eye on if you are the Houston Texans: Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, both quarterbacks from Alabama and Ohio State, respectfully; Will Levis, quarterback from Kentucky; Jalen Carter, defensive tackle from Georgia; Will Anderson, edge from Bama; Paris Johnson Jr., an offensive lineman; Joey Porter Jr., cornerback from Penn State; Quentin Johnson, wide receiver from TCU. That'll be at the 12 spot; Anthony Richardson, quarterback from Florida; and Tyree Williams, an edge player from Texas Tech. And if I am Houston, what I would do is I would take CJ Stroud with the 2nd pick of the draft, and then with the 12th pick of the draft, you take the best wide receiver on the board, whoever that is, to build weapons around CJ Stroud. And the reason why I take CJ Stroud if I am Houston, I think Bryce Young is a very talented quarterback. I think he is the best quarterback in this draft. And I know you're saying, well, if Bryce Young is the best quarterback in the draft, why aren't you taking him? My problem with Bryce Young is, my biggest issue with Bryce Young is his frame. His height doesn't bother me. His frame does. He's got a small, lanky frame. Can his body hold up through a 16-game season or 17-game season? Can Bryce Young hold up for 17 games? That's my concern with Bryce Young. Is can that frame hold up? He can put on weight, but he still has a very small frame, and that does worry me. That's why if I'm Houston, I take CJ Stroud over a Bryce Young. And I don't think the two quarterbacks are that far apart talent wise either. Arizona with the third pick. New head coach, new head coach and defensive coordinator from Philadelphia, Glennon. They need offensive tackle. They need defensive tackle. They need an edge. They need a corner. They need a wide receiver. They can trade back to a quarterback needy team, or they can stay put at 3. Some names, I've mentioned a bunch of them already. Will Anderson, Jalen Carter, Paris Johnson, Quentin Johnson, Tyree Wilson, Broderick Jones, and Christian Gonzalez are names that I'm adding. And I think Arizona's best option is stay put at number 3 and take Will Anderson from Alabama. Put him with Isaiah Simmons. Isaiah Simmons. And that can be a pretty good pass rush right then and there. And again, this is first round picks only that I'm talking about. And then you have the Indianapolis Colts. New coach there, too. Former Eagle offensive coordinator is their new head coach. They had the 4th pick in the draft. They need quarterback. They need a wide receiver. They need an offensive lineman. They need an outside linebacker. And they need a cornerback. They can either trade up to try to get a quarterback and in the top 3 so they can grab a quarterback, or stay put and hope one of the top quarterbacks on the board is still there. They got basically Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Will Levis, and Anthony Richardson. And if I'm the Cardinals, I take the best quarterback on the board, regardless of who it is. It doesn't matter. You need a quarterback. You've gone the veteran route, Jacoby Brissett. You've gone Phillip Rivers. You've gone Carson Wentz. You've gone Matt Ryan. You need a young quarterback that you can build around. Take a rookie. You can sign a veteran to be a bridge between the rookie and the veteran, to be that bridge. But you need to draft a quarterback in the 4th pick of the draft or higher if you can trade up with the Bears. The signing the veteran, you got to stop it. You're not going to sustain or build a team that way. Yes, it sucked that Andrew Luck left the way he did for your franchise, but you need to draft a quarterback. And last but not least, the Seattle Seahawks, 5th pick in the 20th pick in the draft, a 5th pick thanks to the Russell Wilson trade. They need offensive line help. They need edge defender. They need defensive tackle. They need wide receiver help. Options, trade back to a quarterback needing team, or, obviously you can stay put. But names you think about if you're Seattle: Myles Murphy, edge from Clemson; Jalen Carter; Osiris Torrance, offensive lineman from Florida, who I really like; Jordan Addison, wide receiver from USC, a nice slot guy; Tyree Wilson, edge defender from Texas Tech; Brian Branch, safety from Bama; Isaiah Foskey, edge from Notre Dame; Nolan Smith, edge from Georgia; Pete Skoronski, offensive tackle from Northwestern; Brian Brees, D lineman from Clemson; Quentin Johnson, wide receiver from TCU; and Christian Gonzalez, corner from Oregon. If I'm Seattle, take the best edge player available at number 5, whoever that is, on the board, and then take an offensive lineman with your 20th pick. So that's my first 5 teams in the draft, and what I would do if I was the general manager of those teams. 5 through 10 will be next week. And I guess the last thing I want to say before I go, Eric Bieniemy is going to be the offensive coordinator of the Washington Commanders. This is the same Eric Bieniemy that should have been a head football coach years ago. The knock on him is always either A, he doesn't interview well, which according to people out in Washington, the Commanders, he interviewed extremely well. And it's because he's in Andy Reid's shadow is the other reason why you hear a lot too. He doesn't call the plays in Kansas City. Well, Doug Peterson didn't call the plays. He's on head coaching job number 2. Matt Nagy didn't call the plays. He's going to be the offensive coordinator in Kansas City when Bieniemy officially takes the Washington job. Another excuse I heard is the Kansas City Chiefs keep going too deep into the playoffs, so teams want to make that decision before the Chiefs are eliminated. Both coordinators of your Super Bowl runner-ups are head football coaches in the NFL now. I don't know what the issue is with Eric Bieniemy. He seems like an outstanding football coach, but for some reason, which I think we kind of can guess a little bit what part of that reason is, he doesn't get opportunities that he is definitely deserving of. And I'm not saying not entitling him, not saying don't give it to him for the sake of giving it to him. He has more than earned his opportunity to take that next step in his coaching career. But now he has to go to Washington to be the primary play caller and a coaching staff that's on the hottest of hot seats in the NFL in Ron Rivera in Washington. And he's got to turn that offense around and show that he can be a play caller, not just a play designer, not just a game plan creator, but he can be the play caller and lead an offense before he'll get a chance. And I can't think of really very many I can't think of this happening in the past very often, is what I'm trying to say. That they have to take a lateral move in order to take that next step. So with that said, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. Find me on Twitter at Evan with Sports, Talking Sports with Evan on Facebook, Evan with Allison also on Facebook and on YouTube. Comment, subscribe, rate, comment on the show. Podcast version will be out tomorrow if you don't want to look at my ugly mug for 40 minutes. With that said, thank you so much. Have a great and safe weekend, and I'll talk to you later.